Namaskar, welcome to this episode of Nritya Nation. In this episode, we are going to talk about Odissi Dance little bit more than part 1. So if you have missed part 1, I will link that over here on the screen as well as in the description box below. In part 1, we understood what is Odissi, the characteristics of Odissi, the jewelry, costume, music, and now we are going to know a little bit more about this beautiful dance style from Orissa. So let's begin. In Bharatanatyam, we have like certain types of like sets of adavus. Right. Like in Kathak also we have the sets of like, how do you learn? So in Odissi also you have like a set pattern because you said like it was revived like much later.
Yeah, we do have, it's smaller than what we have in Bharatanatyam because it takes almost 2 years to do the Bharatanatyam adavus because they have just been documented so very well. So in Odissi we have 10 basics of Chauka and 10 of Tribhangi.
Okay.
So, but the severity level increases very fast. Like in Bharatanatyam, first we do the Tattadavu.
Right.
Then just the beating of the hands and feet together. Then we go to Nattadav. But in Odissi, there is a sudden transition after the fourth. So the number of steps goes on increasing, and then suddenly the level of what we can say difficulty, that increases suddenly. So 10 of Chauka, 10 of Tribhangi, and that small piece of Tribhanga and Chauk, that is called the Arasa.
And also there is like how we have like in Bharatanatyam, Margam, in Kathak, even Mohiniyattam, there is a certain way of presenting that style. So do we have anything?
Yes, we have a repertoire, what we call, this is like the Margam you are saying, right? So we begin with a Mangala Charan. So Mangala Charan is, Mangala is pure and Acharan means behavior or attitude. So the dancer dances or conducts herself on the stage in such a way that the atmosphere becomes pure. So it is an invocatory piece where we start with, she first comes with flowers in her hands with the Manch Pravesh, then she offers the flowers to Lord Jagannath, as we have the deities always to the left of the stage. So there she offers the flowers and she does a small piece, a small arasa. And then there is a Ishtadeva Vandana, so which is in praise of either Lord Ganesha, Durga, Saraswati, Shiva. And then we end with the Sabha Pranam. So a Sabha Pranam, like in those days, the audience used to sit circular. So we would not always address the audience in front of you. So the Sabha Pranam would start with the front Pranam and then she goes all around to address the entire audience. And fine, then after the Mangalacharan, we have the Pallavi, which is a pure dance piece. It is actually like a Tarana or a Tillana, but it is done at number 2 in the beginning. Yeah. So Pallavi, and after that we have the Batu. So Batu again is important. Often most dancers, when they are presenting the entire repertoire, they do the Batu. Then Abhinay. So Abhinay would include an Ashtapadi or Dashavatar or like a Janana. So a Janana in Odissi repertoire is like a Kirtanam, I would say. Don't go after the structure, understand the bhav, like it is in praise of some god. So this Janana is in praise of a deity. And then we end with the moksha. So the end is very, very slow, unlike what we would do in Kathak or Bharatanatyam. It's a very slow piece set to Bhairavi. So these are the 5 main sequences. Mangalacharan, Pallavi, Batu, Abhinay and Moksha.
Would you just put some light on what the history of Odissi was and how it was and now how it is, like the whole travel of Odissi till today's date?
Odissi has very much originated from the temple tradition. So in those days, like we had Devadasis in the southern part of India, we had the Maharis in the northern part of India. Maharis means Mahanari. So they were next to God. Nari is a woman and Maha is great. So great women. Why were they great women? Because they were next to God. And they were the direct servants of God. One thing which we all need to know when we are talking about the culture of Odisha is that these people were really God-loving, not God-fearing, but God-loving, yes. And they have complete faith in the temple tradition. So when we talk of intellectuals and when we think as intellectuals, we don't understand this.
Right.
But in those days, these Maharis used to actually sleep in the chamber of the god. They would do their daily duties to the god, bathe him, dress him up. Then they would dress themselves up, do prasad, sing for the god. And it was really only for the god because they were in the innermost chambers.
Right.
So these were the Bhitari Maharis. Bhitari means inside. So they were not allowed to dance before anyone, in front of anyone. But eventually, as life progressed, some Maharis started performing within the temple premises. So they were called as the Bahari Maharis. Yeah, so Bhitari and Bahari. So this is where the tradition actually comes from the Maharis. But because of the British invasion and the change in policies where women were not allowed to dance and where Indian dance was termed as vulgar, or actually it was Shrungara.
Right.
And the erotica has been a part of India's culture, I think, and we look at it in a very different manner because it is ultimately associated with bhakti, devotion. But because of all these thoughts, the Maharis went into oblivion. So they became very poor. They did not have any money, and but thankfully Odissi never went to the darbars, which is very, surprising because the Mughal invasion was in the northern part. But I think because Odisha, because of its geographical location, probably, it remained preserved. So that's a good thing, I would say.
Thank God.
Yeah. And then what happened was this dance form people had already learned from the Maharis. So the next in line were the Goti Puas. So Goti Puas are, Goti means one and Pua is a small boy in the Odia language. Goti Pua, G-O-T-I-P-U-A. So Goti Puas were small boys who were hardly 12 to 13 years of age, and they would dress up as women. Perfect, the same attire what I am wearing right now, and they would present Odissi in the temples, or they had akhadas at that time. So where the schools of Odissi.
Right.
So the gurus and the dancers were all male. So that is where the tradition was preserved. Again, there was no money from it, no income from it, but probably the needs of the people were very less.
Yeah.
And so I think it was preserved in the...
and the dedication and the devotion as well.
Right.
Towards the art.
Correct. And then gradually all the gurus who you may have heard of, there's Adi Guru Pankaj Charan Das, Guru Kelu Charan Mahapatra, Guru Deba Prasad Das, they were all Gotipuas. And the Gotipuas would not only dance, they would also play the Mardal. So they were also singers, Mardal players, and that is how this tradition was preserved. And then eventually, of course, these gurus did a great job of reviving. Unfortunately, Odissi was revived late in the 1960s, so in the post-independence era. Yeah, but there are evidences in some of the temples, the caves in Bhubaneswar, which show that there was a dance style which prevailed in that region in the 2nd century. So probably Odissi was the oldest dance form, and since it's very close to the sculptures, in the temple sculptures, and even some of the movements that we actually have learnt in Natya Shastra, but we don't follow the whole thing in Bharatanatyam, because today Bharatanatyam is very linear. Now, but Odissi has retained that bhav of the lyricism, which is close to the temple sculptures. So that could be a
chance. So thank you so much for all this information, and it was really enlightening. And I'm sure people who are watching us on the video as well will have eyes open and really kind of a feel. And thank you so much for sharing this. Isn't this interesting that every Indian classical dance style has a different characteristics? I hope that you know a little bit more about the Odissi, and now you will be able to identify the authentic Odissi dance. Subscribe and share this video with your dancer friends. I will see you in the next lesson, but wait. How can I let you go before watching the performance of this beautiful dance style Odissi? Enjoy and keep dancing. Talaank,